Yo! Welcome to the show, BroMob. We're your hosts, Chad and Brian. Today is Tuesday, October 8th, and it was this was an insane week in fantasy football. It was another great week. There were some big-time winners on FanDuel and DraftKings out there this week, mainly due to some big players having some big weeks, and just crazy fantasy outcomes. Brian, I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a team, and you know what? He's not gonna mind. Paul had himself a game in our Dynasty League. He scored 210 points in that league. He put everybody on notice. And he didn't even start. Burger. He didn't even start Will Fuller. He had him on his bench. He could have scored, which makes him a bum. He could have scored 260 points in this game. Wow.
Yeah.
This was a crazy week in fantasy.
I got to tell you, I'm proud of him. You know, as somebody that's constantly putting massive points up, I'm very proud.
Yeah. He's clearly listening to us. You know, he's always leaning on us for advice. So I kind of take some cred.
I feel like I almost feel like I was plugged into his brain when he was setting his lineup.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm like, Paul, you're welcome. Felt like I gave a little bit of free fantasy advice for him. So keep doing that, Paul. Keep listening to us. We're here for you. You know, we're here to help you out. Help you, help us, help everybody, help no one.
Yeah, the bingo, bongo, bango. Okay.
Yeah,
let's just
bingo, bango.
So leave it at that. So.
All right. Well, BroMob, we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to get right into it. We got our Week 5 fantasy recap, our genius and dumb picks, our waiver review, our hold'em picks, and of course, we'll be talking trades at the end of the show. So Brian, you know what? Let's just get right into it here. Fantasy Weekly Recap. Ooh, I love that jam. Kills it.
I feel like I should be making a sandwich.
Oh, I just ate sandwiches. Plural. Multiple sandwiches.
7
a little bit ago. All right. Let's get right into it, BroMob. We've got the Rams Seahawks to start this week off. Hey, it was another good Thursday night game. Capped by a big performance by Cooper Kupp, who, Brian, I'm going to say it, he is a wide receiver 1 for the rest of the season, so long as he stays healthy. I think he's a top 7 guy. He's awesome.
Yeah, I love him. I absolutely
love him.
I
loved him last year. Love him
it's
this
all
year.
About his targets. It's all about the target share.
It is.
I mean, he gets targeted heavily, and on that offense, I think it's hard. The defense has got to just pick a guy, right? And so they usually pick Woods or Kupp. Or Woods or Cooks, and Kupp is usually the odd man out, and so he kind of gobbles up all those receptions. He kind of reminds me a lot of Edelman. Like Edelman's kind of that dude.
He is kind of like that, isn't he?
That's what I think of. I think of him a lot. So
yeah, he's one of them efficient guys. Helps the passing game a lot. Gets used in the red zone a lot. So, who I don't like too much, and man, he just keeps saving himself with these short touchdowns. Todd Gurley didn't look good. He did not look good in the game.
Yeah,
I get it. He's got these good fantasy outcomes, but he doesn't look good.
Well, newsflash is touchdowns count as fantasy points. So if it, the thing is it's hard to
predict.
It's hard to predict, and it's less sustainable. I mean, you can't. It's unlikely you get a touchdown every single week. So you're going to have those weeks where you don't get in the end zone, and then you have a pretty bad week. So, but that didn't happen this week. Obviously, he got in the paint. So
yeah, and just one little thing about this game too. Russell Wilson, man, he's making a case for MVP this season. Patrick Mahomes, he's having himself a good season, but as we saw in his Thursday night game, Russell Wilson's as good as it gets. I mean, him and Tyler Lockett hooking up on regular occasion.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. If you were starting a franchise, let's say you're GM of a franchise, you're rebuilding, would you want Russell Wilson or would you rather have Pat Mahomes as your quarterback?
Well, I'd rather have Pat Mahomes.
He's
younger.
I'd rather have
He's
Russell
younger.
Wilson, man. I'd rather have Wilson. I'll be honest with you.
Wilson's got the Super Bowl pedigree, so I do like that.
I think he's got everything. I think the whole package is, oh my God, I just saw Baker Mayfield make the worst pass I've ever seen in my life. So sorry, man. I got really distracted.
Okay.
But
That's
anyway,
fine.
I think Russell Wilson's got the it. That pass he threw to Tyler Lockett, I think
Hmm.
he's the only guy other than probably Aaron Rodgers that could make that throw. Don't you think?
I don't know, man. I watched Pat Mahomes make some crazy throws on Sunday Night Football. I mean, he's jumping in the air, throwing it the other direction, contorting his body. He's pretty insane too.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you. I just think I like Russell Wilson. He's 8 years in the league, the experience. I think he's more of a leader. And I think Mahomes will become that. And I do believe in his talent, but it's just a side note. But that look, if you're a Russell Wilson owner, you're happy this week. If you were a Tyler Lockett owner, you're happy this week. Chris Carson, the Shanghai Knight himself, you're happy this week. So, look, that was a great game for fantasy, and it was a really good game to just watch. Like in all, right? It was just a really great game.
Yeah, I want to give a quick news alert. Nick Bosa is a big guy. He's a very large man doing some crazy things. Let's get into our next game here, Brian. We got the Jags Panthers. Detective Minshew let this one slip through the cracks, man. But it's okay because he put up his best effort, his best effort possible, his best effort of the season, really. 374 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of those went to DJ Chark, who, BroMob, we've been saying it for a couple weeks now. This guy was a waiver gem. If you haven't picked him up, sorry to hear that, because he's close to 80% owned in leagues now, so he's very rare to find out there. But if he is out there for you, just go get him real quick, because this guy's for real. Minshew loves to throw to him, and we saw it in this game.
Yeah, Chad. Minshew still had a really good game. I actually think
He did.
If it weren't for the turnovers, it's his best game yet. 374 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns, 21.2 fantasy points on the day. This is what makes Minshew so interesting, Chad. 7 carries for 42 yards. He can
He's
move.
been doing it.
He can move on his
doing
feet. Yeah, absolutely. So look, I'm going to call it. I think he's serviceable and very streamable moving forward for the rest of the season. So if you're looking for a quarterback to kind of spot play as we get into bye weeks here, I would consider Minshew. I think he's got a favorable matchup or schedule moving forward, other than the New Orleans game coming up. Cincinnati, the Jets, Houston. I know those sound like good defenses, but I think Minshew can still do well, and he's going to have to throw the ball. So I like him.
Do you like CMC? Because this guy is good, man. 237 scrimmage yards. He got a little bit of a scare at the end there, with his cramping and stuff. But, when you're carrying the team for that long, how else are you going to be?
My cramp. Yeah, so he's I got a little nervous because Sleeper had a notification outside. He's like, hey, Christian McCaffrey's seen limping to the sideline. I'm like, don't you even? But it was just cramps, thank God. So it was his time of the month.
Is that something that you are concerned with, though? With his usage, he's getting used a bunch. Are you concerned with health for the longevity of the season?
I'm concerned with health for my entire fantasy team. It's so good right now. It scares me. So, yeah, I think overall I'm concerned with every player's health. But, look, I think Christian McCaffrey's kind of like a Zeke. I think he's just a genetic freak. And so, look, you can't play the game fearing injuries. They happen. You got to be able to move. If you got a guy like CMC, I think it's hard to move on from him. Chad, you and I were just talking about this earlier today, and I know I was talking.
We'll leave it for later.
Like, hey, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, I think health is something, but you're not. I think it's hard to let go of a guy like CMC, right?
Yeah, very true. And then another guy here that had a big game, Leonard Fournette, back-to-back games.
Your guy
looking good. I think Minshew is actually what's elevating his game a bit, right? He's showing up. He seems to be interested in playing. That's his thing, right? He's just got. I don't like him. I've been very vocal about it. I think he's got a poor, attitude towards the game. But when the team's doing well, he usually does well because he comes in and he's got a good attitude. So.
Well, look, his usage is up, and I think the team is just feeding him 29 carries and 23 carries back to back. Still getting used in the passing game a little bit as well. that's the thing with Fournette is he's always been a volume guy. You give him the volume, he produces later in games because of it. So I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I think I would be trying to move Leonard Fournette right now. His injury history is there. The more usage you get out of him, the more injury risk you have. If you can move Leonard Fournette and maybe you package him with somebody else and try to upgrade him, I would definitely try to do it. I wouldn't expect 25 to 30 carries a game moving forward. Every single game, he'll fall apart.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen in today's NFL anymore. These players, they're doing so much already. They just go down. So, and we've seen it with Fournette before. He's got flat tires on him. So let's move on. Let's not talk too much about this game. We got Cardinals Bengals, the battle of the unwinning teams, the unwinnables, I guess you can call them. Cardinals won. And so rookie Kyler Murray gets his first win of his career. But other than that, there was only one other standout in this game. Tyler Boyd, huge game. There's nobody else to pass to, really, so it was expected for him to have a big game here. But he didn't disappoint. He had a big game, big touchdown from Andy Dalton. But outside of that, there were really no other big standouts. David Johnson didn't have a phenomenal game in this. Kyler Murray had the good game. He had a rushing touchdown in it. But outside of that, I didn't really like anybody else. All right, Brian, what do we got next?
So the next game on the docket here was Bills Titans, Chad. So this was a really good game. Bills, hey man, the Bills are 4-1.
Who would have thought? A good team.
Yeah, who'd have saw this coming?
Nobody.
Josh Allen looking great from a regular football standpoint, not necessarily fantasy. He had a decent fantasy game. If you streamed him, you weren't terribly disappointed. I think still, if it was 17 points, I think he had or something like that.
Better week than Carson Wentz.
Yeah, exactly. So, good game for him. On the other side of the ball, you had, Derrick Henry, 20 carries again, solid workload. Definitely still the workhorse that you drafted him, hopefully, to be. Mm-hmm. And so this was a good game, kind of one of those slobber knocker games, so to speak.
Slobber knocker.
Yeah, knock the slobber out of somebody. JR, good old JR. Also, Chad, in this game, Marcus Mariota still looks terrible. Oh, yeah. 183 yards passing, 13 for 22. Now, that's about it. 5 carries for 13 yards. I don't know what you do with some of these Titans receivers. Really, it's at this point you're just kind of hoping, if you have one, you're kind of hoping that Mariota goes down. I hate to say that, but that's really their only hope. Delaney Walker, really irrelevant in this game, and I think I called that one catch for 10 yards. What are you doing? What about Walker? Like, what are you doing with Walker now at this point? Are you keeping him, or is he somebody that's droppable?
No, he's fine. You keep him around because receivers are more dart throws. I mean, it's they're some of the biggest dart throws in the league, really, because Mariota could blow up. It's just what he does. He's so inconsistent, and when he blows up, those receivers do well. A.J. Brown, 2 touchdowns 1 week. Corey Davis has a big week. It's just, it happens. But it's complete gambles.
Yeah, Mariota could blow up, actually blow up.
Quite literally.
Really actually blow up.
Yeah. Implode.
He just literally like a black hole.
When you predict for him to explode, he'll implode because he's so unpredictable.
Marcus Mariota is a black hole for fantasy points. That's what you're saying.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's what I think you're saying. The other game, the next game here, Chad, is Falcons-Texans. Will Fuller had himself a game. I know this is painful for you because you had him on your bench, but
in a couple weeks.
He had a great game. Over 200 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns on the day. He had 2 plays that were stopped on the 1-yard line. Could have had a 5-touchdown day. And this is kind of his forte. Like he has games like this where he just blows up and goes berserko.
But here's the thing: he doesn't have games like this, right? So he normally does 7 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? Because it's always big touchdown throws. This game is a little bit different because he had 14 catches in this. And that it's kind of telling that, hey, Watson's going to throw it to me because these other receivers are getting stopped right now. So it was nice to see his usage go up as opposed to the 3 or 4 deep balls that he normally gets in a game.
So is this more indicative of, hey, Texans are offenses maybe waking up, or is this, hey, Falcons secondary is atrocious?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, Falcons secondary is atrocious, but Watson's a good quarterback, and he's got some good weapons. So I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, I'm with you. So on the other side of this ball, or this game, other side of the ball, Falcons continue to spread the ball around pretty well, basically to everybody not named Julio Jones.
Yeah.
And Matt Ryan, had a pretty good fantasy output actually. So made some mistakes, but still serviceable. So how are you feeling about Matty Ice moving forward, Chad?
He's one of the more consistent quarterbacks in the league, in fantasy purposes, not real football. He seems to be hurting the Falcons lately, but he's not hurt your fantasy team. So that's all that matters. I like him. Keep him on that team. All right, the next game is the Bucs-Saints game. Teddy Bridgewater, speaking of people waking up, Teddy Bridgewater woke up in this one. 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards passing. A lot of that production went to Michael Thomas, and that was just it was a telling game. I mean, the Bucs defense has actually been a solid defense this year. They've held some good offenses to very little outputs. And so seeing Teddy Bridgewater do this, I mean, Brian, I don't know if you know this, but as a starter, Teddy Bridgewater is one of the winningest quarterbacks ever. Did you know that?
I do now.
Yeah.
What?
So he continues to do his thing and just win games. Back when he was with Minnesota, he was winning. Here he's winning. He does what he needs to win games. And this
he's got
time,
a lot of talent
he needed
around
to
him.
throw. He does. So, I mean, it was really telling there. On the other side of the ball, Mike Evans put up a goose egg for fantasy owners out there. So, one of those head scratchers of a game for him. Brian, I know you're scratching your head because you could have had a much bigger output than your team already had with him. But Chris Godwin, I'll admit I was wrong about him in this game. He had himself another game. Just continues to shine during this breakout campaign of his. He's getting used a bunch. He's getting touchdowns. He's doing everything he can. He looks like a solid wide receiver going forward.
Yeah, he really does. And he's. I'll be honest. I mean, you and I were pretty hot on him to enter into the season. Mm-hmm. But I think
not this hot.
He's no, exactly. So, but I mean, he has really become almost like a 1B on that team. So it's interesting to see. In the running game, Jones slid from this week, and it looks like back into a timeshare again. This is the most puzzling piece of the Buccaneers team is you'll have Barber or Jones have 20 some carries, and then all of a sudden a timeshare or vice versa, one of them falls off. So I don't know. It's almost Belichickian of him to kind of the way he's running it. Like every week it seems to be somebody that is different that they're going to roll with.
You just throw Belichickian at me like it was an actual word and then just kept going with it. There was no pause, no anything.
I mean, it's a word.
Of course it is.
Look it up. Go to the dictionary and just look for Bill Belichick's face.
Here's a word. Wow. George Kittle, 45-yard touchdown. Yeah,
45?
buddy.
I thought it was 20. I thought it was 22.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think it was a 22-yard touchdown, but still not bad. Not bad at all. So
getting me some points. That's the thing I care about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Coming for your famous Seamus. Brian, what we got next?
So Vikings Giants was a really good game. I mean, I think it's exactly what we thought it would be. This was the return of Kirk Cousins to the world. Hey, welcome back. This is what it looks like to be a professional quarterback in the NFL. So he had a really good game. Found Thielen, and that was important. Obviously, Adam Thielen, owners very happy. But 22 for 27, 300 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. And look, Dalvin Cook really shined in this game as well. 21 carries, 132 yards. You had another 86 yards through the air for Dalvin Cook. He's looking like a pure stud this year. I mean, he looks not energized, but like reborn, basically. Looks redonkulous. Oh my God, everything's breaking.
He's dropping the world.
Dalvin Cook, just running amok over here. So, yeah, just a great game. On the other end of the ball was Daniel Jones just having a rookie game. I think the Giant or the Vikings defense is legit. It's a good defense, and you look at all the talent on that team in whole. It's no surprise to me that the score was 28-10. It's just a better team, period. And so Jones, 182 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Hillman really didn't do much. It would just seem it was a very blah game for them. Shepard went down with a concussion in the game, which was really disappointing. I was really sad to see that because that's his second on the year, isn't it?
Yeah, this is second. It could be a lot of weeks for him. Gallman went down too. That was a big narrative here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Beast Freak Dragon Face is going to be back next week.
Beast Freak Dragon Face.
I just came up with
dragon
words
ankles.
In there. Anything that sounded amazing because that's what he is. I mean,
dragon legs.
Barkley's ridiculous. So I'm sure Barkley's back next week. So yeah, I mean that was your Giants Vikings game, and then we had the Bears Raiders game, Chad. That was a little bit of a shocker to me. I'll be honest with you. I thought the Bears were going to handle these guys, and they did not. So it was like the complete opposite of what I expected. Oakland had the lead for the majority of the game and then lost it for a little bit, and then they ended up coming back. Chase Daniel had a decent game, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw 2 picks though. So showing his, lack of, I guess, zip in the game. I don't know what else to say, but Montgomery really not used all that much. So the Bears really didn't. Oakland kept the ball for a while, for the majority of the game. They really did well on offense. 25 for 32, Derek Carr, 229 yards through the air, no touchdowns, but the superstar of this game was Josh Jacobs, that rookie running back.
Oh yeah.
I can't believe he ran against the Bears defense the way he did. And I don't know if it's maybe the jet lag or just, going overseas. Teams seem to play much different overseas than they do in the US. 26 carries for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then he carried the ball 3 times for 20 yards through the air. 3 catches for 20 yards. So I mean, just what a game for the rookie, and I'm shocked. I really am.
Yeah, really big game for him. It was pretty cool to see. Big game as well from the Eagles, who played the Jets this week. I mean, the Jets are just really bad without Sam Darnold. They're very bad. The Eagles defense, which has been atrocious so far, other than their rushing defense this year, looked like a absolute all-star studded defense against the Jets with two defensive touchdowns in this one, multiple sacks, multiple takeaways. Le'Veon Bell didn't get much going against them. It was telling. It was a big defensive game for them. The big thing that came out of this, head coach Doug Peterson came out and actually said that he intends to get Jordan Howard the ball some more going forward, which I hate because I love Miles Sanders, but I can see what they're trying to do there. I mean, Jordan Howard has looked good in times that he's been out there, so it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, and then the Ravens-Steelers game, it is a much closer game than I expected, Brian. Steelers were holding out for quite some time there, even with third-string quarterback, gruesome injury there to Rudolph. It was terrible to see. Hodge came in there and was able to, play fine enough to keep him in this game. The biggest thing that kept them in it, though, was just their defense. That Steelers defense, the pass rush. TJ Watt is for real. The pass rush is for real. Because of that pass rush, Lamar Jackson was making some errant throws, had 3 turnovers in this one. And so big game from them. Juju had a decent game. That fumble at the end of the game is what lost him the game. This is kind of his narrative. He's done it a couple times now with these fumbles, dating back to last year already. So it's something to be wary of going forward. And then of course Marquise Brown, the big story here. He had a big start to the game with a touchdown, a big acrobatic type of catch for a touchdown. Came down weird and left the game for a while, actually for 2 quarters with an ankle injury. Came back out in the 4th and was able to play. Got a catch at the end there, but didn't do much with it. So it sounds like he's going to be fine. But the Ravens pull away in this one in overtime. It was a much closer game than expected.
Yeah, Chad, I'll tell you what wasn't a close game was Patriots-Redskins. So the Patriots did what I expected them to do, which is handle business against the Redskins. head coach Jay Gruden fired Monday morning, so he's out. Bill Callahan is going to step in as the interim head coach. So my question for you, Chad, is what do you think about Adrian Peterson moving forward?
So that was what I was thinking about already, because Bill Callahan in his illustrious career, he's a running coach, right? So he likes to run the ball. He's kind of like one of those Greg Olsons, right? He's not a great coach, but he likes to run the ball dramatically. So Adrian Peterson could be seeing the rock a lot more. He was even said last week saying he doesn't like the fact that they're not running as much as he would like. Last week he said this to Gruden. Apparently, Gruden's gone. He's in. We'll see what happens. But I think Peterson gets an uptick in carries. He hasn't looked good. I'm not going to say Peterson's going to become something great because he hasn't looked good. The offensive line's terrible. But I do expect him to get more usage.
Yeah, Chad. And on the other side of the ball, Patriots defense continues to rack up fantasy points. These guys are ridiculous. And then crazy. Tom Brady had another great game. Sonny Michel finally had a breakout game this year, and so that was good to see him kind of getting back at it. Hopefully that continues. And then Chad, the Broncos Chargers game was also, I think, a pretty interesting game for me to watch.
Oh, wow.
It was exactly what I did not expect. I understand the Broncos defense is good. I didn't see this coming. So I'm gonna be honest. So Broncos get their first win. Cortland Sutton had a big game. Chargers just looked weird. They didn't look in it. I don't know if it's, hey, they just had a bad game and it was a bad game script. The Broncos defense prepared really well, or if it was Melvin Gordon just complicated stuff. And they had something going. They were cooking along with Eckler and they had like this jive going, and all of a sudden you insert Gordon and it's like they got to find a way to get them both involved, and it just complicated things. So I'm interested to see what happens moving forward with the Chargers, because I did expect Gordon and Eckler to be involved, which they were. I didn't expect them to both be basically useless. So, I mean, Gordon was very blah. Yeah. And so was Eckler, really.
They both were bad.
And Rivers didn't really have a great game. So, I mean, I streamed Rivers this week, and I got like 4 points. So, not the game you were expecting from a Chargers team against a Broncos team that just lost one of their better pass rushers and, little banged up. So,
I mean, it's the NFL, right? I mean, these are still professional football teams. They might not be good, but they can win games still. So, all right, let's get into these last games, Brian. I hate to talk about it. The Packers-Cowboys game, it was an ugly one for the Cowboys fans, but not so much for fantasy owners, right? Amari Cooper with a massive game, over 220 yards in this. He actually had the best game of his career in terms of yardage. That is 30-plus point fantasy game for owners there. He killed me in the league of record. But another big game. He was actually outshined by Aaron Jones, who had 4 touchdowns in this game. Probably, I mean, it's unlikely that he ever does it again. So this could be the biggest game of his career in this one. So it's funny, Aaron Jones, the better running back in Dallas this week over Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott, who didn't look good in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, it was interesting. Dak still had a pretty good game from a fantasy standpoint. So, the question is, we've been telling our listeners, what do you think about Dak Prescott and Amari Cooper? And is it time to sell high? Chad, what are you doing? Are they sustainable, do you think?
I said it last week or the week before. I can't remember, but I'm holding on to Amari. I think I see a stud in him. And you and I talked about it earlier. We were wrong about him being a possible bust. Not about the fact that he was a risky pick. He is a risky pick. But of course, with high risk comes high reward. People are getting high reward. He's a stud. He's getting used a lot. He's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. Well, I shouldn't say ever, but in the last 4 years or so, against man coverage. I mean, he just breaks people's ankles. and is wide open most of the time. So I love Amari. I would definitely try to trade Dak. His value is very high right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think Amari you got to keep unless you're getting somebody really like Michael Thomas or somebody like that. You're able to upgrade a little bit like that. Yeah, I would say that would be the only way. So other than that, I think I'm probably moving on from Dak though.
Yeah, I mean nobody's untouchable, right? In my eyes, everybody can be traded. There's a right price for everybody. So you're right. If you're trading Amari, you're getting the right value for him. You're not giving him away for nothing. But it's going to be hard to trade him.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into this last game. We got Colts Chiefs, Brian. This game, this was an interesting one. We talked before this game, and I told you Colts are going to upset them. Did I not? Yep. You were like, nah, Chiefs by 50. Word for word what you said.
Hold on. I said Chiefs would score 50.
Oh.
And then you're
okay.
like, Chiefs by 50? And I was like, no. So I thought Chiefs by 2 touchdowns. But this was not. I mean, look, even Vegas, this was not the game anybody expected. This was a defensive, low-scoring game, field goal kicking type game. Not what you expected in Kansas City on a Sunday night football game against the Colts. So, my question is are these defenses finally figuring out how to go up against Mahomes? This is 2 weeks in a row.
I don't think that's the case. Mahomes came out hot, and it looked like he got stepped on by one of his offensive linemen right on that ankle. And after that, he looked like a completely different quarterback. He was not mobile. He was hesitant on his throws. His whole game changed after that. So I think he got a little injured on that.
Yeah, it could be, Chad. So, that was interesting. Colts, look, you called it. Mack had a big game. Didn't have the touchdown, but he had a big game on the ground. So it was good to see Marlon Mack rolling and doing his thing. Look, I think the Colts can be very serviceable rest of the season. So I really like the Colts. I mean, I said it before. I mean, I think we said it last week. They got a pretty cake matchup or schedule for matchups coming up here. And they did move into the season. So I think,
in Patrick Mahomes, though, I mean, like I said, like we were saying already, he didn't have the best game, but he still was able to put up a good fantasy week. Like, this is crazy. The guy's insane. He's the most consistent quarterback in the league. When we're looking at consistency charts, he's number one, or he's number two. I think Lamar Jackson might be number one, to be honest. With the floor that he has, but Pat Mahomes has looked great even when he hasn't looked good, and he makes players like Byron Pringle look good. He opened up a can of Pringles, Brian. It is what it is.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
God, I hate you. You're the worst. You're the absolute worst.
To be the worst, you need to be the best.
And with that, we're gonna move on.
Genius, genius, genius.
All right, BroMob. Well, let's get into our genius picks. I'm gonna be honest, I had a lot of them this week, so here they come. Number one, we just said it 5 seconds ago. Starting Marlon Mack. Look, he didn't get you to touchdown, but he got you a really good RB2 performance on the ground with over 100 yards on the ground. He was using the passing game as well, so you got some yardage there. I also mentioned to start Calvin Ridley. Said that he likely would get a touchdown in this game. That's exactly what happened. Over 80 yards receiving, a touchdown in this one. And the biggest one I want to say here, starting Eagles defense, if you were able to get them up off the waivers there, or if you already had them and you started them, you were not disappointed. Multiple touchdowns, multiple sacks, multiple turnovers. It was just a big game. And it was all predicated on the fact that if Sam Darnold didn't play, he didn't play. Big week from them. And it ended off here, Brian, because like I said, I had a big week here in good picks. Kirk Cousins, it was risky, but I risked it for this biscuit because Kirk Cousins looked good. He got Adam Thielen going right away. He used some Stephon Diggs in this game. They had I think his name's Obese Johnson getting some catches in this game as well. Dalvin Cook heavily used in the passing game, also in the running game. I mean, it was an all-around good effort from Kirk Cousins. This is what we expect from an $84 million quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. I actually had a pretty good week in picks this week too, if I might say so myself. Started off with the start of Tom Brady, 348 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 23.9 fantasy points on the day. Not a bad week from Thomas Bradyeth. And then start Chris the Shanghai Knight Carson, 27 carries, 118 yards on the ground, 1 receiving touchdown on the day, 18.8 catches in that Thursday night thriller. That was a really great performance and game from him. So Chris Carson looking great so far this year. I mean, he's he's clearly the running back to own in that backfield. And so also start Julian Edelman, that kind of piggybacked off my Tom Brady pick. And I saw the Redskins on the schedule, and I said, this is the game Julian Edelman puts it together. He does 8 catches for 110 yards, a touchdown, 21 points on the day. Not a bad game from him. And then actually Will Dissly, again, I told you, I'm not every week. Every freaking week. I'm
with you.
4 catches, 81 yards, 8.8 points. It wasn't super sexy, but he still had a great game. And I think he's an auto start.
Yeah, he looks good.
You put that auto button on.
You put it on? Like on your shirt?
Yeah.
You
like
put
it
on your shirt.
Yeah.
You put it on your book. Whatever you may want to put it on, you put it on.
Auto start sticker.
All right, let's talk about our not so auto picks that we had last week, Brian.
You blew it!
BroMob, I definitely blew it with this one. I stated to sit Chris Godwin this week, and he proceeded to embarrass me. He had a huge week against the New Orleans Saints, and I'm sorry about that one. He had a really big game. Touchdowns, yardage, whatever you want to say, he had it. He had a good game. And I also said to start Jimmy Graham. Look, the Packers offense did everything right, but passed the ball. They didn't pass the ball much at all because Aaron Jones was able to absolutely demolish this defense. And because of that, Jimmy Graham didn't need to get used much. And even if they wanted to use him, I don't think they would have, because he didn't seem to be much of a factor in this game planning and anything for this game. So sorry about that one too, BroMob.
Yeah, Chad, I had a couple swings and whiffs this week as well. Sitting Josh Jacobs was one of them against the Bears defense. I figured no freaking way I'm starting a guy on going to another country. He's a rookie and you're playing the Bears defense. No way. He embarrasses me, says, take this in your face, 26 carries, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then added 3 for 20 in the through the air, 27.8 points. Josh Jacobs made me look silly. Then I kind of on the other side of the ball, I said, hey, definitely start Bears defense. So also a bad choice. This game, I expected to go a different direction if you can't notice. So Bears defense 3 points, and then a streaming option that I was pretty solid. I figured would have a much better game. Eric Ebron, 1 catch for 8 yards. Ouchie. Yeah.
Matthew.
So not fun. However, I do want to make one good point. I know we moved on from the genius picks, but I also this game is going on while we're recording right now. But I did say sit Baker Mayfield, who has currently, as we are recording this, -2 fantasy points. And I also did say stream, and I said join me. I believe go back and re-listen. I said join me, BroMob. Stream that 49ers defense currently sitting at 19 points as we speak. So just putting that out there.
Interesting. Good job, Brian. Pat on the
Thank
back
you.
for you, sir.
Yes.
One play changes it all. Just wait for OBJ.
I'm going to wake up in the morning and be like, no.
Why?
Why?
All right, BroMob. Well, that's going to do it for our dumb picks. Let's get into that ever so valuable waiver ads, hold'em picks, and trades.
Yes.
All right, for waivers this week, BroMob, look, there's some silly people out there that have dropped Will Fuller. He is only owned in 65.3% of fantasy leagues. They didn't want to wait on him. I don't know why. He's only been catching touchdowns his entire career, so he blows up this week with his 3, could have had 5 type of week. Go out there if he's on your waivers. If it's a fab system, spend some money, get him back on the team, because you should have this guy on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with you there, Chad. I'm really scratching my head at how anybody could have possibly dropped him. But hey, do what you got to do, I suppose, in the weeks where you're struggling. Another guy on the docket here, Gerald Everett, owned in only 3.4% of leagues. I definitely think he's a guy you might want to go take a stab at. So
tight end's rough. I mean, and because of that, Gerald Everett, he's put together back-to-back big weeks. He's getting used a lot in the passing game. He's getting used a lot in goal line situations, in red zone situations. It's worth a stab because you might find yourself the next Will Dissly.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, is the team, it's not like he's had one catch and a touchdown and it's just made his stats look good. He's got 12 catches in 2 weeks. That's not bad. 12 catches, and you're talking 180 yards receiving, and a touchdown. That, those are statistics that are sustainable. So I'm interested in the sustainability of this.
Yes.
He draws a tough defense next week, though. The Niners defense we're watching right now they are legit, my friend. So that's going to be an interesting game. But I think, definitely going to be somebody you could probably get in there and put some points on the board.
Yeah, I agree there, Brian. And then we're going to end it off here with Mr. Mohamed Sanu. He's only owned in 43.3% of ESPN leagues out there. Look, he gets used in this offense. It's plain and simple. The team gets behind a lot, and so they have to pass the ball a lot, and Matt Ryan likes to spread the ball around to whoever's open. And Sanu, he's a really good slot guy. He's a really good really good number 2 wide receiver there. Not wide, but a Y receiver. Julio Jones being the X receiver. But he gets open. So because of that, he does well. He's a good flex play from time to time. So pick him up if you can. He's very available.
Yeah, Chad, I want to add one more guy to this list, and I know we didn't have it written down here, but I wrote it down before the show, and I wanted to bring it up in a conversation with you. What do you I mean, Christian Kirk is only owned in 79.1% of leagues, so it's unlikely. I mean, in most leagues, he's not sitting out there on the waivers. But he is sitting out there on the waivers in some leagues. Judging by your face right now, you just watched the blocked field goal.
Yes.
I was also looking at that. So anyway, I want to draw you back into the Christian Kirk conversation. Come back to
if
me.
You couldn't see my face, my eyeballs almost popped on my head like Keenan from Saturday Night Live when he looks down and his eyeballs pop out. Mine were doing that just then.
So my question is if Christian Kirk is out there, you definitely I'd imagine you want to be taking a flyer on this guy. He's too talented. He's on an offense that throws the living daylights out of the ball. He's going to be targeted. So BroMob, if you're seeing Christian Kirk on your waiver wire, are you adding Christian Kirk or Will Fuller? Who would you rather have?
Will Fuller.
Well, I mean, obviously you have some recency bias.
I have. There's no bias here. Fuller is worth 100% more. Look at history with the guy. He catches touchdowns all the time. Yeah, maybe he came in. Here's the reality. Maybe he came in a little slow to the season because he was coming off a big injury. He just needed to get reacclimated to the NFL. He's reacclimated, folks. He's looking good.
Well, and also, BroMob, you should know he's gonna regress next week. So you're not gonna have another 40. If you have another 40-point game, I don't know what I'll do. But just saying,
he could have a big one. They're going up against Kansas City.
I will streak down the road, but I will streak down the road. But no, I will not.
He's on the record. All right, let's get into our hold'ems, Brian. Number 1, Cooper Kupp. Are we holding him or are we trading him? I already mentioned I love him. I think he's a top 7 guy, but understanding he does have injury concerns, right? What are you doing with this? What are you doing with him right now?
Oh my God, I'm not going anywhere with Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Cooper Kupp. I'm keeping him because he's a volume guy. These are the type of, like, Tyler Lockett's a perfect example. I look for receivers that have volume. I value volume over. I'll say this a million times. I'll value volume over like the OBJ type guy where he's like super talented, can blow up and have these massive games, but I would rather have the volume guy because they're more consistent. At least as my wide receiver too, which is what he is on most teams. It's very unlikely you have Cooper Kupp as your wide receiver 1, right? He's most likely a wide receiver 2 on your team. So if that's the case, I'm keeping Cooper Kupp because the volume's there.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you have both Cooper Kupp and Amari Cooper. Which one would you trade first?
I would. Just spilled my drink all over myself. Caught
you off guard.
Yeah, you got me there. So I'm going to be honest. I think I would keep Cooper. I think I'd keep Cooper Kupp because he's the guy that is getting the worst coverage. He's got the DB2, DB3 in some cases. So he's got the nickel corner in some cases. And he's on a team that, look, the Rams can't rush the ball. And so they're going to throw. And they're going to throw. I mean, dude, Jared Goff has thrown the ball for like 112 times in 2 games. I mean, it's over 100 passes in 2 games. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So Cooper Kupp's gonna, in a half-point PPR, I think he's so valuable. Whereas Amari Cooper's gonna have those games where he has 3 catches for 49 yards.
Yeah, I agree.
And you got to pray he gets into the end zone.
Yeah, true. That's very true. All right, let's move on. We got Cortland Sutton next up. I said it last week. You need to trade this guy. I'm holding true to it. I'm not going to hold this guy. I'm trading him right now. Do not hold him expecting this production to continue for him. I mean, Joe Flacco is still Joe Flacco. It's just these type of productions happen. If Cortland Sutton is enticing to somebody in your league and you want to trade him and get any value for him, go for it, because this is not sustainable for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that. I'm moving Sutton.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to end it off here, Brian, with a guy named Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett, Seattle Seahawks. Are you holding or are you trading?
I'm holding because, again, he's just like Cooper Kupp. He's a volume guy. DK Metcalf is the deep threat end zone guy, but Lockett's the guy that on third down, he's the guy that's moving the chains, and he's going to get in the end zone. He's going to have those games where he has 7 catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, or what I'm saying. So I like those types of receivers as my wide receiver too, which again is exactly what he is. He's that same receiver. So I like those types of guys. So I'm keeping him.
Yeah, consistency is key at wide receiver too. All right, that's going to be it for our hold'ems. Let's get into our trades, and I'm going right away, Brian. Right now is the time to try and buy DeAndre Hopkins. He's thrown together a few bad weeks. He's as cheap as he's ever going to get. These low scoring games are not sustainable for him. He's eventually going to. It could happen as early as next week against Kansas City. They'll need him to if Patrick Mahomes comes out here blowing up in this game. They're going to need Hopkins to have a big game too. A battle of the stars, really. So this is the week, BroMob. Go out there, try to get Hopkins for however you can.
Yeah, and Chad, I'll throw one more wide receiver on the pile here, and then we can wrap up. But
hit me.
Go get Devontae Adams while you can.
Yeah,
I mean the guy's right now he's injured. The guy that has him, it could, because of his production so far this year, could be struggling and thinking, you know what, I'm done. I gotta win games now. I gotta win now. And you could go get this guy, no touchdowns on the year. That's not going to continue. It's not sustainable. And he's the number 1 wide receiver on an offense. Aaron Rodgers has statistically gotten better each game this year, and so I see nothing but better days ahead. If you can go get if you can go get Adams right now, and you can upgrade I know I just said don't do it, but if you can upgrade a Tyler Lockett for a Devontae Adams or a Cooper Kupp for a Devontae Adams, I might would go do that, especially if you can get like Adams and somebody else for Kupp. Oh, that'd be a steal.
Be absolutely worth it.
Yeah,
agreed. All right, BroMob, well, that's going to do it for today's show. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday to stay up to date on your fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football league.
Yeah, BroMob, and also make sure you get over to the fantasyfootballbros.com. We have all kinds of start and sit recommendations. Also, keytothetitle.com has all of our in-depth rankings and looks at players each week. So the fantasyfootballbros.com and keytothetitle.com.
If you're not on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcast, TuneIn, and also on iHeartRadio. We're everywhere, BroMob. Come check us out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FFBros Podcast, and be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, just like Brian said, for all kinds of articles, rankings, and so much more. See you tomorrow, BroMob.
Bye, everybody.